Patriots podcast with Nick Cattles.
He is Greg. I am Nick. We are live and we are part of the CLNS Media Network. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Before we get to the game, Greg, of course, we've got to get to the trading deadline and some news from the Patriots. Mark Daniels just a little while ago reporting that the Patriots have signed Brenden Rice, who is the son of Jerry Rice, to the practice squad. They had Brenden Rice in for a workout, I think, back in September. And I would just assume, correct me if I'm wrong, this could be some Boutte insurance since Brenden Rice is an outside bigger receiver.
I guess. I mean, I wouldn't classify it as a move. This is a guy who hasn't done anything football since whatever he was on the tryout circuit. He's practice squad guy, like, whatever. I mean, I will say, they do have a couple of guys on the practice squad. I mean, John Giles was a guy who I really liked in training camp and the preseason. And, if Boutte should be down, rather than, I might prefer putting John Giles out there at X than Kyle Williams. But Brenden Rice is just, practice squad filler as far as I'm concerned.
All right, before we move forward with the deadline, I just want you to check the microphone. Sounds like you might be on your computer mic again. Not sure, but I just want you to check. Sounds a little light. The pipes are not as strong as usual. So let's check the microphone situation as we get ready for the trading deadline. It is at 4 o'clock today, I believe, 4 p.m. Eastern is when the deadline hits. So we're just a few hours away. Obviously, it's 20 past 12 right now. What are you hearing, the latest about the trading deadline and what the Patriots are doing right now at Gillette, Greg?
So what they're doing right now, I mean, I expect, just like Mike Vrabel said the other day, the Patriots will be doing their due diligence. They're calling on everybody. So if you hear the Patriots connected with something, that doesn't mean that they're quote unquote interested. They're just seeing what's out there. What's the market? Is there something that comes to their likings? You can't find out unless you communicate. But the way it's been described to me, I was told not to expect much out of the trade deadline from the Patriots. I do think that they're looking for some depth pieces, edge, running back, possibly wide receiver, but I doubt it, considering Kayshon Boutte's injury update the other day. It doesn't sound like, if it's even real, that it sounds like it doesn't sound like it's too serious. And then, I would prefer some sort of versatile defensive back that could play safety or cornerback. But I think I would definitely prioritize the edge, some sort of depth piece.
What would your approach be if you were Mike Vrabel, Elliott Wolf and company? What would you be thinking right now? Are you okay with not necessarily going all in for a piece if a piece is available? Are you cool with that? How would you approach this, Greg?
Well, I would definitely consider if there was some sort of, foundational player, a young player with contract terms that you have some sort of background with and you feel comfortable about his football character and what he would bring to the locker room. Yeah, I would consider it. Because to me, this is a, long-term rebuild. But if the Patriots end up, and I'm fine with really whatever they choose to do. If they find some sort of, young foundational piece that could be part of their core going forward for the next 2 or 3 years, and they want to go get that guy, I'm fine with it. Those guys don't usually become available. The guys that do become available, there's a reason. Either the team that they're coming from does not want them around anymore, does not want to offer them a contract extension for various reasons. You also have to remember that this is not like baseball where, you're inserting a starting pitcher into your rotation and he's just by himself, or a hitter who's by himself. Like this is football. I mean, there are playbooks to learn. there is a locker room to assimilate into. Like, just because you acquire a guy doesn't mean he's going to be a good fit. Doesn't mean he's going to improve anything. And that doesn't mean anything even from the talent perspective. So, these people who think it's fantasy football, that you can just sign somebody and you think he has talent or you think he has a name, that, he's going to come in and improve your situation. That's like a 50-50 proposition in most cases, let alone, if you have any background or you have any sort of knowledge about this player and how he fits into things. But most likely the Patriots don't really do much at the deadline and they just add depth. I am fine with that. I am on board with Mike Vrabel, Ryan Cowden, John Stryker, whatever it is Elliot Wolf is doing these days. I am fine with that because they came in with a plan. Like, you pay these guys, the head coaches, the decision makers, to make decisions that aren't sentimental, that right. Has nothing to do about emotion and reacting to things. And and I get it from the fans. I understand the perspective of people who look at the standings and where they are and what they might do. And they want them to do more because they could do something this year. I understand all that. And I'm not going to argue with anybody about that. But, you have to be realistic. Just because the Patriots are 7-2, does that mean they're a 7-2 team? Because Joe Burrow is hurt this year, should that change anything? I say no. They came in with a plan. They said, this is the year that we're going to sign a bunch of free agents, almost all of them other than Milton Williams. We know all of them. We know exactly what they're going to bring. They're going to bring up the floor. They're going to make us more competitive. We're going to be in the mix come December and January. That's what we think we can go to. And just because the Patriots, first of all, I mean, the reason number one is Drake Maye hit earlier than I think even they thought he would.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And that's a champagne problem. But Drake Maye hit earlier. The schedule this year is historically poor. You play your schedule. It is what it is. And then their injury luck to date has been absurd. I mean, it doesn't take far to go around. Go look at what the Commanders are going through with 13 starters missing multiple games this year, let alone Jaden Daniels. Just because those three things transpired this year to make you 7-2, it doesn't mean you're a 7-2 football team. It doesn't mean you're a Super Bowl contender just because the standings look that way. These guys have to be realistic about where they are, and they have to play things out. They have to look at, that they have 4 key free agents after this year. They have 12 free agents, key free agents after the next season, that they have 28 players on the roster for 2027. They have to look at all these things. And, let's not also forget the fact that, the Patriots have been really lucky injury-wise to this point. It could hold the entire season. It happens. You also have some seasons like, when Tom Brady had to go out to Denver for the AFC Championship game, throwing to a bunch of nobodies. But does that change? Does that fundamentally change what type of team you are? And I say no. And I think that let's also remember, just for the sake of argument, I'm not saying this is going to happen. We'll talk about the Bucs on Thursday. But if the Patriots go down and lose to Tampa, they're still 7-3. They're in good position. They're probably, leading the AFC East. I haven't really looked at these permutations. But they'll also be one game from being out of the playoffs. I mean, you have the Chiefs coming up. The Ravens are going to make a run. And while it looks really good for the Patriots right now, and I think it'll continue to look good for them, the 7th seed in the AFC right now is 5-3. That's Jacksonville. The Chiefs are 5-4. Who knows what you get out of Baltimore? But all of a sudden the Patriots lose 7-3. Jaguars win. Chargers keep winning. The Chiefs win. All of a sudden you're one game from being out of the playoffs. So basically what I'm trying to say is don't get distracted by the record, which is great, and they've done a great job to this point. It's up to the leaders of this football team that want to win multiple Super Bowls going out, not to get over their skis with 1 year just because the breaks have gone your way to this point, and Drake Maye's been phenomenal. You have to keep your eye on the prize, and I think these guys have their eyes on the prize.
Yeah, you don't want to sacrifice too much of the future because things are working out okay in the present if you don't think the present is going to give you the ultimate goal, which is winning the whole damn thing. I do think, if they stay healthy, they should make the playoffs. I mean, come on. I understand.
Absolutely.
We look at the other teams, but they have 3 games against the Jets and Dolphins left, including week 17 and week 18, when both of those teams suck. And both of those teams are probably going to be playing for a better draft pick those final 2 weeks. You should sweep those games. Right there, you're at 10 wins. So even if you lose to the Ravens, you lose to the Bills, you lose to the Bengals, you're still 10-7. You got the Giants coming up. The Giants' defense is wretched. They've lost Cam Scatterboo. So if you stay healthy, you should have 10 or 11 wins given the rest of this schedule. But I do think big picture, Greg, you're right. I mean, how much do you want to give up for players? So let's play a quick game here. We're going to do a little bit of rapid fire because I know people are watching some of these players get traded and go, why weren't the Patriots in on that guy? So let's start with old friend Jakobi Meyers. He was just traded to Jacksonville. Jacksonville recently lost Travis Hunter to a knee injury. Brian Thomas Jr. just got hurt this past weekend, so they're going through it at receiver. Jakobi went to Jacksonville for a 4th-round pick and 6th-round pick. If you were the Patriots, would you have done that deal?
No. Nope, that is too rich for Jakobi Meyers, who's also going to need a new contract. I would have been fine with, maybe a 5th or some sort of pick swap type of thing and, future considerations, what have you. But no, while I love Jakobi and he's one of the guys that I would have looked at because I am definitely afraid of this, of the depth of the wide receivers, as we saw with Kayshon Boutte this week. Then all of a sudden, you lose any of the 4 of Boutte, Diggs, Hollins, and Demario Douglas, and now you're looking at Kyle Williams, Efton Chisholm, John Giles, and Jeremiah Webb playing significant, roles. So I would have loved, because you know who Jakobi is, you know what you're getting, he fits into this offense like a glove, but no, that's not something I'm interested in.
Royal Pats fan on Twitter, y'all don't think they will win one of these games against the Bucs or even the Bills or Ravens Bengals. Clearly not what we said. Appreciate you watching. Appreciate you kind of listening. You might be busy. A lot of stuff going on. I get it. Real life takes over. You might have kids. You might be at work. But that's not what we said. I said even if they lost all of those games, which I don't think, they still have games that should lead them to 10 or 11 wins. And Greg didn't say anything about game by game. He just said they have the Ravens coming up. Just asking, he says, I appreciate it. But no, we did not say that. And I don't think right now, sitting here with the team relatively healthy, we would say they'd lose all of those games. All right, back to the fun here. Rapid fire. Jaelan Phillips from Miami to Philadelphia for a 3rd-round pick. Would you have done that?
And a lot of these answers, I'm going to be, I don't have any idea how this guy fits in. I know he has a lot of injury issues, not very durable. I don't know, how much he loves football and, how tough he is, and does he fit sort of the mindset of the current Patriots? But, first 2-day picks, no, not interested.
And of course, Philadelphia, if you look at it, they had multiple 3rd-round picks to deal from. Howie Roseman has really built a treasure chest of picks. And so, it hurts them a lot less. And they're also defending Super Bowl champions.
And you also have to remember, I will say, just on that, the reason why Howie can do that is because, especially, on their lines, in a lot of different places, this team was built through the draft. They did a good job in the draft. Once you do that, then you can afford to do these things to sort of accentuate your roster. But, we all know the Patriots are not at that point right now.
Dre'Mont Jones, saw him a couple weeks ago at Tennessee. He was traded to Baltimore for a 5th-round pick. This could become a 4th-round pick. I believe it's if Baltimore makes the playoffs and if Dre'Mont Jones has like 2 sacks or whatever the hell. Would you have done that deal?
So, does Dre'Mont Jones have a background with Vrabel?
I don't know.
I'm just, I think he came from the Seahawks. Sorry. So he started his career in Denver. No, he has no background with Mike Vrabel. So probably not, but I will say that Mike Giardi reported over at BSJ that from what he was hearing, Amy Adams Strunk is not interested in helping Mike Vrabel as far as acquiring former Titans.
She stinks out loud. She sucks as an owner. Okay, you suck. I don't know you personally, but the job you've done in Tennessee is embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing. And the fact that you decided to pull the trigger on Mike Vrabel, which was the wrong decision, because especially when you bring in Brian Callahan, and now you're all upset about it and crying about it. So now you won't trade. Like, do what's best for your football team. You don't want to trade with the Patriots because the Patriots, a year after you fired Mike Vrabel, it wasn't like he jumped to New England right away. If Drake Maye didn't stink and the coaching staff didn't stink last year, Mike Vrabel would not even be in New England. Give me a break. She's awful. If I was a Titans fan, I'm done. I would have been done when they, a while ago, but I would especially be done right now. Like, you're not trading players to a certain team. What if the Patriots said, and this isn't going to happen and they shouldn't do this, but what if they said, we'll give you a 3rd-round pick for Dre'Mont Jones? Tennessee's going to say no because the owner's all butthurt about Mike Vrabel actually leading this team to a 7-2 record. Crybaby. Like Raheem Morris and the clapping. Crybabies. One more deal. Logan Wilson for a 7th-round pick. That happened with Dallas earlier today. Would you have done that? You've been killing the linebackers.
No, I know. There's got to be a reason nobody wants Logan Wilson. I mean,
there's also a reason why he's not playing for Cincy, which just gave up, about 1 billion points to Chicago on Sunday.
Yeah. I'm going to say no. And yeah, I mean, Logan Wilson, from what I saw his PFF grade, his run defense numbers are, terrible. And you also have to remember, if you want to bring in any of these guys, let's say, for example, you bring in a Logan Wilson, and even though it's a 7th-round pick, he gets in, get his feet wet, but all of a sudden, Christian Ellis, Jack Gibbons, Marte Mapu, these guys all of a sudden are like, what? I'm not doing my job. Like, you don't like, what I'm doing. And now you're upsetting the apple cart, or, you bring in some sort of, name defensive end. Who you sitting? K'Lavon Chaisson, Harold Landry. I mean, Chaisson's been balling out. Landry's been toughing it through an ankle injury. You bring in some big name, and now all of a sudden you got guys, looking, cross-eyed at Mike Vrabel, and you're, ruining the vibes and all this. And, we don't need any more than we have in here. All that stuff. And so, no.
Something to keep an eye on, of course, though. Christian Ellis left the game on Sunday with a hip injury. So we'll see. He did not return. And if Christian Ellis is not around, now it falls to Mapu, maybe Tavai a little bit, but maybe you want to put Tavai on, maybe you want to put Tavai on the edge a little bit to rest Landry and Chaisson as the year goes on and these games get a little bit more physical and teams are running the football more or trying to run the football more against you. So something to keep an eye on. All right, before we get to the actual game that happened on Sunday, my voice wants to die, and Greg wants to tell you about PrizePicks.
You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this football season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. PrizePicks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. PrizePicks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You know what that means? You want to pick more on Drake Maye's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? Of course you do. Drake Maye's the balls. Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup, only on PrizePicks. On PrizePicks, how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, choose Flex Play, where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts, which is what I do, go big or go home. Why are we doing this? Go for the power play. No matter your play, PrizePicks is a great way to put your takes to the test. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right.
More reading for you for this. For those listening, we ask that you subscribe to the podcast, like and leave a review. For those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead and hit that like button, the thumbs up. Subscribe to the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel where you can find our show and a lot of other great Patriots content. Also, please make sure to turn on your notifications so you know the instant a new video drops. Also, check out Boston Sports Journal, $50 for the year. Bedard and Giardi tag teaming the Patriots, the best sources around, film. And I just want you to know, behind the scenes over the weekend, Greg was gracious enough to help. I'm starting to watch all 22 and break it film down, and he went through his system. He is a nice human being for all of you who think he's just a wet blanket. Good guy. And I got my sheets. Look at this. I see Bedard all the time. He's got his sheets. Look at this. I got my sheets and my notes.
Yeah.
All this. Huh? All right. $50 for the year. Boston Sports Journal. All right. Falcons, Patriots win. Yay. Are you okay, Greg, generally with how things went on Sunday, big picture?
Yeah, I am. I mean, look, I don't think a whole lot of that opponent, especially Zach Robinson, the offensive coordinator of the Falcons. I mean, first of all, they have a pretty decent offensive line. Well, I mean, they did for most of this game until both their starting guards, went out of the game.
Yeah.
And you have Bijan Robinson and you have Drake London. Now, I'm not the biggest Michael Penix fan in the world, but could you imagine if Josh McDaniels had, those things to work with, what they would be doing offensively? I mean, their pass game is just horrible. There's no layers to it at all. They're just running routes. Most of them are like, deep. Bijan was running fine early in the game, and then all of a sudden, one series they come out, pass, then it's run, pass, like, what have you. So I don't think much of the opponent. And I should have stuck to my guns. On the podcast, I said, I like the Patriots, but not to cover. And
stop it. Will you stop it? Will you stop?
What?
How would you know that all of those things would happen in the game? That should have been a 10 to 14 point win easily.
It should have been. It should have been. I mean, look, twice they were up 2 scores looking for more in the first and second half, and both times, Drake Maye had a regrettable turnover that tightened things up. I mean, they should have won that game going away, and I think in most instances they would. But the bottom line is, I feel fine about it. Drake Maye's not going to play out of his gourd every week. He's not going to be perfect handling the ball. He's a young quarterback. These things are going to happen. But they found a way, thanks to Parker Romo, who has since been released, to win this game. And that's all that really matters. I mean, I'm not going to go, I'm not going to say it was a bad win. I'm also not going to be flowery about they overcame adversity and all that, and they toughed it out. They won the game, and they should have. They're better than that team. They won, not by as much as they should have, but they won.
Just want to say mea culpa. Getting choked up about this, but I apologize to the Patriots. I was critical of you because you chose Andy Borregales out of camp when Parker Romo won the competition, if we wanted to call it a competition. And it certainly felt like Andy Borregales made the team because he was the draft pick and Parker Romo was not the draft pick. I'm sorry. You were right. I was wrong. Borregales, we know what's going on with him. Parker Romo, thank you for missing that kick on Sunday. So I was wrong. Mike Vrabel knows more about football than I do. Can you imagine that? All right, let's talk about Drake Maye. I see a lot of comments. People are very pissy about the title. Before I ask Greg
what is the title?
That's my point precisely. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but I'm going to suggest.
I will say I did.
Did you suggest this title, Greg?
I did.
Oh.
I did.
It's on Greg.
Amit asked me for a headline. I'm in the middle of doing my stuff, and I was like, I don't know, trade deadline, and something about May, and I was like, what's wrong with May? And I think it's okay to have the discussion. That doesn't mean we're going to get into the discussion.
Whoa.
That's the headline, and now we're going to discuss.
Whoa. Hold on 1 second. Blockbuster trade in the NFL, and it impacts the Patriots. Ian Rappaport tweets out, the New York Jets just traded Sauce Gardner to the Indianapolis Colts.
Wow.
No idea about the compensation yet, but the Jets just traded Sauce Gardner. You wonder, is Quinnen Williams up next? I mean, this feels like the Jets season's over, folks. Okay? I mean, come on. We knew that before this trade. They don't really have a quarterback.
The Patriots have him twice.
They just signed Sauce Gardner a few months ago. Is there a beef between he and Aaron Glenn? So obviously this impacts the division. Sauce Gardner goes to the Colts in a blockbuster deal, waiting to see what the compensation is. I would imagine Sauce Gardner tweeted 5 minutes ago, New York, it's been real. It took Sauce Gardner 5 minutes after it was tweeted that he was traded to post New York, it's been real. Seemingly he couldn't wait to get the hell out. Is Garrett Wilson available? Would the Jets trade Garrett Wilson to the Patriots? I probably not, but I would call them immediately. I see Sauce Gardner gone. I'm picking up the phone and asking about Garrett Wilson. If you're willing to trade Sauce Gardner, one of your best young players. So we talked about the schedule earlier, Greg. This certainly seems like the New York Jets throwing up the white flag and quitting on 2025.
Yeah, and by the way, I mean, look, the Colts, good for them. And I don't know if we mentioned it on this pod, but you talk about injuries. The Colts have basically lost all their cornerbacks, okay? And they're still doing what they're doing. And, and let's also remember, Chris Ballard, even though he's had tons of issues finding a quarterback, but in terms of, drafting and developing, the Colts are a team that have done that for multiple years. A lot of their guys are homegrown guys. And that's why you get to this point where Daniel Jones, you don't know when he's going to turn into a pumpkin or how long you're going to have him and all that stuff. And, is now the time to go for it. I mean, I'm sure, Patriots.
Well, let me jump in here. Let me jump in because I got the compensation. The Colts, according to Adam Schefter, traded 2 first-round picks to the Jets for Sauce Gardner. So 2 firsts for Sauce Gardner, which obviously impacts the future of the division because now the Jets are going to have extra first-round picks moving forward in these drafts. They obviously know that they need a quarterback.
Yeah, they have to go get a quarterback.
I would think, depending on where they fall, they're probably gunning to have a top 2 or 3 pick, obviously, when you trade Sauce Gardner like this. And you might draft your quarterback just with that top 3 pick, I would imagine. But now they have some extra picks as well. So it's 2 first-round picks. Sorry to cut you off, but I wanted to get the compensation out there.
Yeah. And I just want to say, I'm just looking, right now quickly at the Colts lineup. Almost everybody on their offense, save Daniel Jones, is a homegrown draft pick by the Colts. Their defense, and it's tough to tell because I know they have a lot of injuries over there. Obviously, DeForest Buckner is not a guy that they drafted, but they still have a lot of guys. That's the point. The Patriots have to get to that point where now you're using your money and your assets. Once you get to a certain point, a layer, and I would say they're two layers shy of like two young layers of players away from, really doing this type of deal. But maybe this year's draft, you do it again next year. Maybe that's the 2 layers. And then you're in a position to do that. But I just don't think the Patriots are in a position to do something like that. Certainly not 2 first-round picks.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to Drake Maye. If anything else big happens, we'll be all over it. Sauce Gardner gets traded to the Colts if you're just joining us for 2 first-round picks going to New York. And now we wonder, Garrett Wilson, Quinnen Williams, who else could be on the move for the New York Jets? You still got more than 3 hours left of the deadline. There have been some Quinnen Williams rumors out there. So we'll see. Fascinating. All right, back to Drake Maye. How did he grade for you in this game?
Not great. He graded out negatively for the first time since Pittsburgh, which was obviously the turnovers. You take that out, he grades positively, and the Raiders game in week 1. And yes, I suggested the title, but as regular listeners to this pod know, because we speak the truth here. We just don't look at passer rating and other stats and just put blinders on and not really look. And I have been talking for a couple of weeks while Drake Maye certainly was on an absurd heater for a while, where 3 weeks in a row, I'm just trying to find my grades, 3 weeks in a row, that would be the Carolina game, the Buffalo game, and New Orleans. He graded out at an absurd level for me. He was playing the best ball of his career in the last 3 weeks, concluding with this weekend, where obviously he turned the ball over twice, which, like the Steelers game, is going to affect his grade, even though it was, pretty close. It wasn't like he graded out poorly. I would put him as, factoring in the turnovers, probably about C minus range. But each of the previous 2 weeks, he had graded lower and lower for me. And so, that's where he is right now. I mean, look, he played well in the first half. He threw the ball well. But Drake's had a little bit of an issue with, 3 weeks ago, it was leaving the pocket too early and passing up, open things down the field. Last week, it was, holding on to the ball a little bit too long. He's been sacked 12 times in the past 2 weeks. I think Jim Murray for Felger and Maz did the numbers where Drake Maye's, I think, on pace to, be sacked like 150 times in like his first, I forget, however, but it's up there. It's like Andrew Luck numbers in terms of like first 50 games of your career, something like that. That's what his current pace. And not all of those are on the offensive line. Some of those are on Drake Maye. And I thought this game in particular, including that first half when he played really well up until the strip sack fumble, I gave him responsibility for 2 sacks and a knockdown. Obviously, I gave him responsibility for the fumble. The sack was obviously on Michael Wenu. And, some of that continued in the second half. I had Drake Maye responsible for about, 34% of the pressure in this game. And so that's just the reality. It just is. If you want to hear happy talk and you want to hear lies and you just want to hear Drake Maye is the greatest thing since sliced bread, there are plenty of people to listen to. But if you want the truth and want to know exactly where Drake Maye is, right now he's having a little bit of an issue with, the whole, pressure thing. And hopefully Nick will now ask me the question about, am I worried about that?
I'll get to that in a second. Just want to update people. Rashid Shaheed, who has been a name that's been thrown out there over the past couple weeks, is maybe making sense of the Patriots. He's been traded, not to the Patriots. Rashid Shaheed gets traded to the Seattle Seahawks. Of course, Clint Kubiak was the OC last year, I believe, right, with New Orleans. Now he is the OC out in Seattle. So makes sense. You've got Rashid Shaheed kind of reuniting with Clint Kubiak out there in Seattle. So Seattle's a very interesting team, man. You add the speed of Shaheed. I like how that rhymes. And you've got obviously JSN, who's been a mother-loving beast this season. Pretty interesting team the Seahawks have put together. Pretty interesting team.
I'm surprised. I mean, I know they've had some injuries at wide receiver, including Cooper Kupp. And maybe that's the reason, because our lads depth chart that I'm looking at, they have Cooper Kupp, Jake Bobo, and Derek Young in red at wide receiver. And, I know they think a lot of Torrey Horton, the rookie 5th rounder.
He's been good.
Yeah.
Shout out to, I think it was Andrew Callahan, who was all over Torrey Horton during the draft process. Loved him. And Sam Darnold, by the way, on an absolute heater. Some of the throws he made on Monday night against Washington, or Sunday night, right? Mm-hmm. Was it Sunday night? We're out of control. All right. As far as Drake Maye, look, I'm new to the grading thing. I'm trying my best. I don't know how Greg finished. I know he finished negatively. I finished with an overall -1 grade. I had 9 positive plays and 10 negative plays for Drake.
Wow, I was close. And this includes some of the positive and some of the negative plays. I give I give a half point boost. So like
Yeah.
I had him for 3 like elite plays that I gave him half point boosts, and I had just the fumble and the interception as far as minus, but he was 8.5, 12, -12 for me.
All right.
Which isn't horrendous, but
Not bad.
Pretty
So
close.
I was pretty close. My first time doing the whole point system. The first 2 sacks were on Drake. I talked about this on the latest Locked On Patriots. If you want to check it out, all the pressure. It's not all on the offensive line, obviously, which Greg leads me to the question you wanted me to ask you. Are you concerned with the pressure stuff? Are you concerned with Drake Maye, his grades declining over the past 3 weeks straight?
No, I'm not. I'm not overly concerned, and there's a couple of different reasons. Number one is he's shown an unbelievable ability, and you saw it in this game. Because they were absurd, like 3rd and long. I think they were 4 of 6 or something like that, with 3rd downs of 7+. And Drake would have some rough plays. Even like when he opens up the second half by dribbling the ball. Luckily, it went back to him, and then he comes back and makes a really good play. So number one, the kid's like a golden retriever or whatever. Like he doesn't have much of a memory. Like it's
like a goldfish.
Whatever.
Be a goldfish, Drake. Be a goldfish.
Yeah, I think Drake is a goldfish. He shows an unbelievable ability just to bounce back. Like I thought the biggest example was the 3rd and 12 pass to Stephon Diggs in that game. I want to say after he took a sack on first down. Where is it? I am looking for it.
It's in the 4th quarter, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah.
But anyway, searching through our sheets. Who gets there first? I do. 3rd and 12 with 11:58 at the 11:58 mark from the New England 34. Maye to Diggs for 21 yards.
Yeah, that was that was an absurd play. And in a huge spot in the game. It was a ridiculous throw. It was elite. Do I think he got tight in the second half and his bubble kind of burst from where he was over the previous few games? Yeah. But for him to answer the bell repeatedly in this game, and especially in that spot, made me feel really good about it. I agree with you. Yeah, and I also think in conjunction with Josh McDaniels, he's getting coached hard, and he understands the deal, and he shows an ability to make adjustments, game to game, to take the coaching and go forward. I really think it's just a simple matter of, he just needs to be a little bit quicker in terms of, 1, 2, check it down to somebody, know where your outlets are a little bit better. I think he's been a little bit big game hunting of late, but it's not going to take much of a correction for him to be like, all right, he just needs a little bit of a reset. And then I think he's going to go back to being like, 85% completions. And then he's going to hit, like a big one over the top. Like I'm not worried about it. I don't expect him to be perfect. I don't even want to say he's struggling. He's just, battling a little bit right now, but he'll adjust. I think he's going to make an adjustment and be a little bit more of a game manager, go big game hunting in certain spots. And other than that, keep the chains moving, check it down. You got plenty of guys who can make plays after the catch. Look at Steph Diggs on his touchdown this week. Just, be comfortable with that. And I think he will.
Yeah, I would say, look, we're not talking meltdowns. We're not talking about terrible performances. We're not talking about somebody who makes a mistake and craps his pants the rest of the day. We're not talking about any of that. We're talking about some of the things that he's getting caught up on, and they're fixable, and he has shown the aptitude to improve in many different ways very quickly. So there's not much to, doubt as far as his ability to improve in these categories. Once he starts to figure out, all right, last play of the first quarter, for example, against the Falcons, I've got TreVeyon Henderson for a check down. I've got Stephon Diggs open, and, there's a blitz, and it feels like I don't really trust my offensive line, but the O-line actually picks up the blitz, and he's got time to take a breath and hit Diggs, but instead he kind of tucks and, bails early, and it ends up being a sack. It's those types of plays that we're talking about where he's just, against Cleveland, I think it was, he's got Mac Hollins, and he does kind of the same thing where he's got Mac, and he just doesn't get to him. He's got time, and he just, whether it's he doesn't trust, the offensive line picking up blitzes or whatever the case may be. And I would just also mention, look, you got to give credit to the defense as well. I mean, the fact is 2 out of those last 3 games are 2 of the best defenses. I would argue the 2 best defenses they've played all year long with Cleveland and Atlanta.
No question.
So you're going to have a little bit of drop and play for a young guy. And so it's things that he can fix. All right, quickly, because we got to get to the defense. Rapid fire here. Offensive line thoughts, Greg.
Not great, but I will say Garrett Bradbury and Morgan Moses both graded out very well for me. I would say that the left guard, that his name is escaping me for some reason right now, Jared Wilson, probably had the biggest struggles on the offensive line.
He had a rough day.
Yeah, he had a rough day.
So we've got a compensation update here. I mean, you could kind of say the Jets got 3 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner, because coming out right now, they got 2 first-round picks, and they got A.D. Mitchell, who was, I believe, he was the first-round pick in 2024 for the Colts, correct? It was either he was – he fell. It was after that. My fault. He was supposed to be a first-round pick, but he fell because of some character things and some questions about him. So my bad. It's not my fault. He was a second-round pick. So really, I mean, you could kind of say you got 2 1s and a 2 for Sauce Gardner. A.D. Mitchell, by the way, he hasn't been playing much at all for Indianapolis after he fumbled the football at the goal line. Shane Steichen pretty much put him in mothballs. So he's been persona non grata in Indy ever since that play. I think he's played like 30 snaps I was reading. All right, running backs, Henderson, Jennings. What do you think?
Henderson was, all right. He still has pass protection issues. I had him for, half a sack and a knockdown. I had, there was 1 run for 2 yards where I thought he could have gotten more. There were other times where I didn't grade him necessarily down, but you're just like, can he jump cut and go do something? I don't know at this point. And I do think he's going to get better. And I do think this is just, the game hasn't slowed down for him, which is fine. And I think he's going to be a really good player, long term. But at this point, I think I might prefer Terrell Jennings as sort of the first 2 down back. I like how he's decisive, 1 cut, low to the ground, hits it hard. Now he doesn't have any shiftiness and he's straightforward, but I like that, and I might like Henderson more. But the problem is you have to put Henderson in pass protection, which, I really don't want to do. So
they need another back. If Stevenson's going to miss time, they need another back. And it's not because I don't believe in TreVeyon Henderson. It's just, you could feel the frustration from Greg because of how you're going to split these things. Right. Terrell Jennings. All right. So I was watching the game over again on Monday, Greg. And I said this on the Locked On Patriots podcast. I thought, TreVeyon Henderson's vision wasn't great at all times. There were some plays where he left some yards on the field, and that's happened all season long. I would think he'll get better at that. Jennings is like if you're just running in a tunnel. Whatever he sees in front of him, he's going. Head down. If there's a hole, he's running through there 95 miles an hour with his head down trying to finish. And he's going to get you the extra couple of yards, great goal line kind of back and stuff like that. But if you expect him to bounce one out, if you expect him to, if he's thinking, if it's an in-between, the tackles run and it gets swallowed up and he might have some space on the edge, don't expect the bounce out. Don't expect anything like that he's running right into the ass of an offensive lineman. That's what he's going to do. And I think, as a matter of fact, that's what TreVeyon Henderson did. I think he ran straight into the ass of Morgan Moses on 1 run where Morgan was on the second level, and it looked like TreVeyon had a chance to maybe, bounce it out and get some big yardage, and he just ran directly into the ass cheeks of Morgan Moses. Must have been pleasant. Last offensive question for you: the impact of Kayshon Boutte's injury.
I think it's huge. I mean, I don't think they can put Kyle Williams on the field in a big role. I know Mike Vrabel talked that up, and maybe he might surprise me. Again, I like Kyle Williams. I think he'll be a good player in time. I just don't think it's right now. That miscommunication with Drake Maye, as opposed to a couple weeks ago where I put it on Drake Maye. This time I put it on Kyle Williams. It was a 3-step drop. It looked like the Patriots were running double slants to the left. Stephon Diggs is inside and goes, 1-2 slant, and Drake goes 1-2 and looks to Kyle Williams, and Kyle Williams for another 3 steps keeps running. So he ran a slant for a 5-step drop instead of a slant for a 3-step drop. And so to me, that's on him. And I can't trust him yet, other than, on a few designated shot plays. So, I would probably put Mac Hollins out there. Like I said earlier, I might promote John Giles from the practice squad and get him some reps if you want to keep Mac Hollins inside to help with the run blocking and all that stuff. So yeah, not great.
All right, we got a couple minutes left here before Greg's going to run to Felger and Maz. Don't forget CLNS Media Network, Celtics All Access. What a sucky game that was last night. Check out behind-the-scenes content, segments from the many Celtics podcasts, the History Channel for the NBA, Bruins Rinkside, and don't forget about PrizePicks. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Any problems with the defensive game plan, Greg, overall?
Yeah. I think a lot of the issues, including like Marcus Jones on Drake London, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but like Zach Robinson was like playing him like a fiddle. In the low red zone, because the Patriots, they were switching before, then they're like, all right, we're not going to switch, or, we're going to anticipate, we're going to put Marcus Jones on Drake London, but this time we're not going to switch, thinking that the Falcons are going to think we're going to switch. And Marcus Jones stayed on Drake London, and they still threw it to Drake London for a touchdown. And so never a good day when Zach Robinson is playing you. I thought this was and look, I'm not going to sit here and say that I played terrible on defense. I mean, I thought there were some really good plays. Jack Gibbons blowing up the screen pass around midfield right before the intentional grounding penalty was
great
a huge
stuff.
play, because if he gets sucked in, if that's Christian Ellis or even Robert Spillane, which we saw in a touchdown the week before, maybe they just keep going at the quarterback, but he peeled off and basically mugged Bijan, which is fine. If he's not there and they slip that out to Bijan, that's probably a big play. And Jack Gibbons saved that play. Milton Williams played out of his gourd. But to me, I don't put a lot on the secondary, because I think we're back to where we were early on in the season, where I thought these guys were putting them in a tough position. The Patriots blitzed 33%. The highest blitz rate this season, 45% against the Raiders, loss. 38% against the Steelers, loss. 34% against the Saints, Rattler killed you. And then now the Falcons 1-point win. Like they can't live this way, trying to get pressure with a bunch of blitzes. Now I understand why they did in this game. And similar to Geno Smith, stationary target, not really going to scramble. And also in this game, Bijan Robinson can't pass block worth a damn. So I understand it. But this team can't keep living this way, not against good offensive team. If they do this against Baker Mayfield and the Bucs, which I don't think that they will, because Baker can make plays with his feet, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. They're going to continue to play poor pass defense.
All right, before I ask Greg who was good, who wasn't in this game, have a little bit of an update with compensation. Rashid Shaheed, I know some Patriots fans were interested in him. He was traded to the Seahawks. We talked about that earlier. Adam Schefter has the compensation. The Seahawks are sending 4th and 5th round picks in the 2026 draft to the Saints for Rashid Shaheed. That's a little bit too pricey for my liking, for a guy who's most likely going to be a gadget guy in your offense, coming in into the middle of the year. All right, let's start with who was good.
I would say on the a little up for Jennings, Westbrook, Bradbury, Moses, Diggs, Douglas, Hunter Henry. On defense, Milton Williams, Harold Landry actually graded out okay for me. Chason was pretty good, but he had a penalty and a couple run edges. So no on him. Tonga, a little quiet this week. Only 2 plus plays. Christian Gonzalez, and that's it.
Christian Gonzalez was good. And I love seeing him, against the run, getting involved there. I thought he was really physical, coming downhill a few occasions. And Milton Williams is a beast. He's a freaking beast. I had him for at least like 6 or 7 impact plays. I mean, he's been so good. He has been so good this season.
I had him for 8. Yep.
Yeah, worth every single penny. He's been tremendous. All right, guys who weren't so good.
I would put Drake Maye on that list because of the turnovers. I mean, if that, it was only a 1-point win because of his turnovers, which obviously the Hunter Henry play. I think Drake expected Hunter Henry to show his eyes a little bit sooner. Didn't happen. I don't know if he also read it as he thought Hunter Henry should have stayed on the seam. I think Hunter Henry was right because he would have gotten killed. But anyways, Jared Wilson. I thought Will Campbell was okay. Had definitely had his moments. By the way, shout out to him on the final pass to Hunter Henry, executing that cut block on the edge. That is not easy. And he's done a really good job of that this year. Let's see. Kyle Williams, of course. Carlton Davis. And I guess, Marcus Jones was sort of graded out even for me. I had him for 3+ plays, but 4- plays, including 2 touchdowns. But, whatever. I mean, his height is his height. I mean, what do you expect out of him?
Yeah, I had a tough time, grade negative for Marcus Jones on those touchdowns because I do that part of the story of this game. And this is not to cop out I thought the defense was fine. Drake London and Bijan Robinson made 3 or 4 spectacular plays in the fourth quarter. And you also had the short field after the fumble. Shout out to Will Campbell hustling his ass down the field to try to stop it from being a touchdown. He did on that play, but they ended up scoring anyway. But, you had a short field on that touchdown after the fumble towards the half. And you had, just Drake London with like 3 one-handed catches and Bijan Robinson with 2 one-handed catches. There's only so much that you can do against, great players making those
but I
individual
also say, part of my criticism about this game plan is you went in knowing Drake London is really their only wide receiver. I mean, he didn't even look at Mooney, barely looked at Sills. Kyle Pitts stinks. Like, you can't do better. Can we double him? Can we, get some robber against Drake London and just eliminate him? I don't know. I've just kind of been underwhelmed with some of their defensive game plans.
All right, Greg's in a perfect mood to head to Felger and Maz. He's going to do that right now. Everybody have a great rest of your day. We'll see if the Patriots do anything. Greg and I will be back later in the week to react to the deadline and also, of course, get you ready for the Buccaneers. Till then, be well.